Gibraltar of the North and not able to be taken by ground troops. And this held on until Napoleon arrived. Here's a children's statue, an artwork from a man named Karl Ulrich Nuss of Stuttgart. He won the second prize in a contest about Piper artwork. Someone once said, art is that which inspires emotions in the people looking at. Everybody gets emotional about this. If he learns to make candlesticks, we have a problem. And even his father was Mr. Butcher the baker, and Mr. Butcher the baker had a rat in his advertisement. And a rat and a baker doesn't fit together. The aristocracy. Girls didn't go to school. Only little boys did, and only the little boys of aristocracy. And as the little girl took her eyewitness account down, it was these boys who wrote it in rhyme and in Latin. And the little boys of aristocracy went on to study more, and they became theologians, and these theologians of the time wrote big, thick books and said that I am the devil incarnate. And if it's so, we must leave the church. Let's go this way. The festival hall has otherwise nothing at all to do with the Pied Piper. That's why we're going to ignore it and continue this way. The cobblestones because the manure was this thick on them, and that's why we had even wooden shoes to put over these shoes so that you didn't have to walk through all of the dirt. And in the summertime when it dried, you had this shitty dust running through the entire town. Oh, it was so very healthy for you. And there were diseases everywhere, and of course everything was God's will. The human had nothing to look for. Everything in the Middle Ages was God's will. If you were ill, it was God's will. If you recovered, it was God's will. The only thing you could do is pray, pray, pray. And the church says the Piper is the devil incarnate. And the people of Hameln tell another story. They tell a story that the Piper left for the mountain with young people. The married ladies of Hameln found him up there on the mountain, where he tells a few of them, "I've taken 130 and I will come back in 300 years and get even more." The people of Hameln are terrible fighters. The people of Hameln are bureaucrats. They're merchants, they're insurance salesmen, and they are boring. And faced with the devil, the prospect of the devil incarnate returning, they do what good bureaucrats do: they start counting. And they count the days, they count the months, they count the years. And on every document that comes out of the town, they say so and so many years to the day that the Piper left with our children. And now it's 1558. And the man back there is building a house, and he knows, like everyone else in Hameln, the devil is coming back. Within our lifetime, he will walk these cobblestone streets, bring pestilence and death and a whole lot of pain with him. And the only way to get out of this is to pray, pray, pray. So he puts everything on his house that he can possibly put on it as insurance. White and yellow bands in the color of the Pope. Feathered fans that remind us of pilgrims' muscles. You see in the first two rows, biblical people. Up under the roof are planetary gods or astrological signs, and on all of the beams that rise out of the house are ugly faces and dragons to keep evil spirits away. And as he finishes his house, he throws a big fest and a roof-raising ceremony. He drinks beer out of a big glass, and because the craftsman didn't have a cellular telephone at that moment to take his picture, they carved him out of wood, and you find him in the top right-hand corner. Maybe you can see him there behind the drain. But Mr. Poppendick could get away with that. He was a rich man. He was an influential man. Mr. Poppendick was the mayor. Left out of children's book, you find him here playing his music, and the rats are coming out of the holes, and they're leading him down toward the river, and the water flows down upon a millstone like in the Hameln city crest. That's all quite obvious. There are a few surprises here, like we're surprised to discover that our artist, Bruno Hoffman, seems to have slept in physics class, because when you let the water fall from this height, it splashes out to here. If you get too close, the Piper wets you on the leg. In a group of people that you know very well, but you didn't know I belonged there, because the people of Hameln have been selling me as a fairy tale for 400 years. I am Germany's medieval rebel. Came out of the side street with 130 teenagers of a marrying age. He was seen in this street by a little girl. And the little girls didn't go to school, only the little boys, and then only the little boys of aristocracy. And that's why the little girl couldn't read nor write. And the boys of aristocracy took down her eyewitness account in the church books, It went round the glass window, and you find it high above us here as the inscription on the wall, the handwriting, the Menetake, Pravda, the truth, it is written. Anno 1284, am Tag Johannes et Pauli, war der 26. Juli, which translates to read, in the year 1284, on the days of John and Paul, it was the 26th of June that a colorful piper led 130 young people away to Calvary by the Koppen Mountain, never to be seen again. And they grabbed the mushrooms for medicinal purposes. They reached over here and got the mead, and over on this side, wine in bags. And 130 young people, 3 coaches full of young people, 5% of the population of Hameln, came up this street, singing, dancing, under the influence of alcohol and medicines, and looking like they were covered with blood. It's no wonder the little girl went mad. She was traumatized. She couldn't recover for 4 days, and by the time she finally recovered, she became known as the deaf and dumb girl. And when she finally put down her eyewitness account, the piper and his merrymakers were gone over all of the mountains that you can see, but I can show you one of them over here.